So I just rage quit Transformers Devastation, something that does not happen very often. I play a lot of video games. Do I get invested? Yes. Do I often rage quit? No. I've been planning on talking about this game, in addition to Rise of the Darkspark and War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, because I bought them all at the same time. Devastation was going to be the last one I played, and I wanted to wait till I'd finished it to talk about it. But, considering events that have transpired and the fact that I rage quit the boss fight with Megatron, I think we should talk about it now. The story in Transformers Devastation is good, but my complaints with the game completely involve the mechanics. So let's take a look specifically at what I'm talking about. We'll talk about the good points and the bad points individually. We'll start with the good. Number one, I've written down graphics. The graphics are amazing. It looks like an 80s show. The cell shading is amazing. No detail is spared. The characters are flawless. The transformation animations are flawless. The sounds, everything is gorgeous. It is a beautiful game, hands down. It looks amazing. Story-wise, it's got a weak story. It really does. It's a very generic stop Megatron from destroying the world type story, but that in itself is a reference to the cartoon. So I can't really mark that off either. That's a benefit. It reminds me of an 80s cartoon, and that's what the game is supposed to be. But the way you play the game makes it feel modern. So you've got nostalgia and some modern elements in your story and your gameplay. The voices, holy crap. It is good to have whoever could make it, right? Like some people passed away, like Chris Slott has passed away, and I think some of the other voice actors have passed away, but whoever could make it from the original G1 cast did so, and you could tell that they love doing these characters, and there was a lot of passion and a lot of soul in their voices. The voice cast was absolutely phenomenal, and listening to all the G1 actors re-fulfill those roles and talk to each other in a modern game is absolutely amazing, and I super love that part of it. Next, the weapons. The weapons follow the same nostalgia vibe. You've got weapons from G1, and there's the Star Saber in there. They reference all kinds of weapons from all sorts of different Transformers lore, and it's cool to see them. And the mechanic of being able to upgrade and equip different weapons is interesting, and it helps, prolong the game, because you're constantly getting basic weapons, and every now and then you get, when you defeat a boss, you get a specialized weapon. So it's totally up to you how you want to combine weapons, and if you were to restart the game again, if you combined weapons in a different way, it would change the experience. So that's interesting. The free nature of the customization and the synthesizing of weapons, all that is really, really cool, and it's an element I haven't seen in this capacity in any other game that I've played. Sure, you've been able to customize weapons, but this is super free reign. It's just take this and this, put it together, and it does this. I mean, it's crazy. And then the controls. I personally don't have a problem with the controls. The layout is much different than War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and Rise of the Darkspark, and it definitely changes the way you play. To me, that's not a problem. This is a different game. It's not that hard to slip into the gameplay method as You'd think it would be switching. I play all 4 of these games at the same time. I switch from Fall of Cybertron to War for Cybertron to Devastation. And it's not hard to get, like, okay, I'm playing Devastation, there we go. And I'm in the control scheme mindset. It's not hard. You don't get confused. And, at first I was a little upset that they were different. I was like, well, that makes no sense. But once you get used to them, and you're good. So out of everything I loved from Transformers Devastation, most of it boils down to nostalgia. It looks like G1. It sounds like G1. The story feels like a G1 episode. Nostalgia is a good thing, and it's a powerful thing, but it's also a sketchy thing when you hang the price tag of a game solely on nostalgia. And I feel like that's what Transformers Devastation has done a little bit. It pushes our nostalgia button, and that's why people bought it. Now the things that I didn't like, and these were glaring things that I didn't like. The first thing on my list here is quick time events, and I was in the Megatron boss battle the first time. I came very close to beating him, very, very close. And I got into quick time events, and they came out of nowhere. They gave me no warning. Optimus transformed into vehicle mode, and his tires are spinning. And I looked all over the screen, and at the very bottom, I see the B flashing. And so I was like, oh, hit the B button, and it was too late. I'd already lost, so I lost the quick time event. He took my health, and I lost the battle. So instantly, I wrote down quick time events because I can't, off the top of my head, remember any other specific events where you had to do quick time things like that, where it's press B repeatedly in the game. It just came out of nowhere. It showed up for a second. I had to get my bearings. I was like, what is this? This came out of nowhere. I have no warning. What's going on? And as soon as I recognized and made the connection, oh, it's a quick time event, then went to execute, it was already over and the moment had passed. It was a poorly executed quick time event. I didn't know it was coming. When it got there, it didn't give me enough time to recognize and respond, and it ultimately ended in me losing. Another big complaint is you can't change the difficulty. Once you've selected the difficulty, I haven't found where you can change it yet, and I have looked. Before rage quitting, I looked. I was like, screw this. I just want to beat this game. I just want to finish the story. I'm not having fun anymore. I'm going to change the difficulty so I can finish, and it was nowhere to be found. They've locked me in, as far as I can tell. They've locked me in to a difficulty that now at this point is more infuriating than fun, and that pisses me off. It's a very basic game mechanic. Just give the player the option to change difficulty in the pause menu. So many other games do it, and the fact that I pushed the pause button and it wasn't there baffled me. So then I went to the main menu. I couldn't find it there. I don't know what to do. I may have been missing it. I will eventually go back when I'm not infuriated at the game and see if I can do it. But as far as I can tell, you're locked into the difficulty once you've picked it. Another big complaint is reuse. It's really fun to see G1 Decepticons make an appearance and fight them. The problem for me is you fight them over and over and over and over and over and over. Every Decepticon you fight at least twice, with the exception of Megatron, and that's infuriating because if you're gonna use them as a boss battle, I don't want to encounter them later because it doesn't feel like the story is progressing. If you were to continue to take out, character after character after character, it feels like you're progressing and you're building up to take out Megatron. But when you reuse characters over and over and over, I don't get a sense of accomplishment, I just get a sense of repetition, and that's annoying. It takes me out of the game, it takes me out of the experience, and it makes me think, oh, the designers were super lazy and they just recycled boss battles. Big complaint. These last two are the ones that bothered me the absolute most, and these two go hand in hand, and they are the sole reason that I rage quit the game. Dodge and focus and boss attacks. We'll tackle one at a time, and we'll talk about how they go hand in hand. Dodge is a mechanic that when an enemy swings at you or tries to attack you, you hit a button at the very last second, right before they make contact. You dodge, and the whole environment around you slows down. The screen turns a little bit blue, and everything slows down. Your normal speed, you get the edge up on your opponent. When playing the tutorial and this mechanic was introduced, I remember thinking, well, this is kind of stupid. Then as I progressed and opponents got harder, the dodge mechanic quickly turned into something I despised. There are several things wrong with the dodge focus mechanic that really bother me. From an engineering standpoint, it just doesn't work. Before an enemy attacks, there's a visual cue and an audible cue that lets the player know, hey, this guy's about to attack you. Then my problem is, depending on your opponent, the time it takes for them to actually execute the attack varies greatly across the board. So, in my mind, the visual and audio cue of this guy's about to attack would be when you press the button, because it's a cue, right? No. You have to receive that cue, turn your attention to whoever it is that's about to attack you, and then analyze them. First, you have to get hit by them a couple times so you can understand their... some of them telegraph and they swing a hammer, and some of them rear back, and some of them jump all around. You have to analyze them, whoever you're fighting, and look at them and say, okay, now I know how this person attacks, which once again involves you being hit a couple times. So already you're losing, basically. So then, after the auditory and the visual cue, now you've turned your attention to this person. Now you're focusing on them. Now you're analyzing their fight pattern, all which happens within the blink of an eye, mind you. Then you have to judge, based on their attack pattern, when to press the button. So there's this onslaught of inputs that you have to not only recognize and analyze, but then you have to decide within a split second when to execute your output and when to dodge. It's overly complicated. It makes no sense that everybody has a different time. I understand the strategy in fighting an opponent, but if you're going to give me a visual and an auditory cue of, hey, this guy's about to attack you, that's when I need to press the button and I need to dodge, and it needs to work. However, the mechanic does not work this way. It is overly complicated and it's infuriating. Another problem with the dodge mechanic is some of the enemies have chain attacks where you have to continually dodge, 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 dodge. Your dodges do not chain together like the enemy's attacks do. They act individually. So if you dodge once and then dodge again, if you miss it, you're out of luck. If your enemy has a chain attack, you should be able to chain your dodges. Dodge once, then once you come out of it, dodge again, and it automatically chains to the first dodge, and you get out of the way. But no, if an enemy's doing, specifically, Devastator does a very complicated chain attack that is impossible to get out of the way of. You have to dodge, then stand there and wait for the everything slowed down to speed back up. Then you have to look at him again, then you have to analyze if he's going to swing at you, then you have to dodge again. Instead of just being able to dodge, 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 which is the way it should be. But no, you have to analyze in a split second, again, overcomplicating the dodge maneuver, taking you out of the fight, and messing up the streamline of your combat. Now we can get more into depth on the boss attacks. I've already touched on Devastator. They have horrific chain attacks. For the most part, if I get hit by the first element in a chain attack, half or more of my health is gone, and I just know it's over, because you don't get an opportunity to get out of it. the chain attacks hit you, then hit you, then hit you, then hit you, then hit you, and you don't have time to recover. As the player, you're aware and you're like, okay, and you're already hitting the button to execute a dodge or a strafe or whatever it is to get out of the way. However, your character has lag. If your character gets hit, it stops for a second and it's dazed, and so you don't get. See, the camera dazed itself. It's like that. You don't get the immediate response that you as the player has. Your character gets dazed for a moment, and it's incredibly frustrating because you as the player are ready to move on and get out of the way, but your character in the game does not keep up. More to the point, when you're fighting more than one boss, specifically you fight Devastator and Menasor, the bosses don't cooperate. They act independently of each other as if they're on different planes, and you just happen to be the focus of both of their dimensions. Devastator and Menasor are throwing attacks and going all crazy on each other, jumping on each other, and they're not phasing each other in any way. It's like Menasor, you're underneath Devastator. Menasor jumps and lands and hurts you, even though you're under Devastator. If that was to realistically happen, he wouldn't be able to get to you because you're underneath Devastator. But no, they continue to act independently, not even phasing each other in the boss battle, and you're just there to take the brunt of it. It literally was left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right for the longest time in the Devastator Menasor battle for me, and it was incredibly frustrating, and I had an awful time. The whole thing feels like a cop-out to me. It reminds me of the NES library, where they would make games incredibly difficult, like Castlevania, for example, to make the game feel longer, to make you feel like you were getting more for your money. In this day and age, that's not necessary. You can make a good game and make a good story. War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, neither of which are very long games, but I feel satisfied playing them, without having to make them insanely difficult to lengthen your playtime. Devastation uses this dodge mechanic and the boss's chain attacks and all that to elongate the fight. You could have effective boss battles, just like in Fall of Cybertron, just like in War for Cybertron, without them being that fast-paced and that overwhelming. It doesn't have to be insanely difficult just for the sake of, oh, well, you're going to have to play through it 3 or 4 times before you get it right, which is the way most of the boss battles towards the end of the game went for me. I had to keep playing through them over and over and over and over. Granted, there are checkpoints and that helps, but still, you have to continue to play it over and over and over and over and over before you get it right, and that's not the way to make your game difficult. The game has its merits, and I will understand that this is their first title in this type of Transformers game. Mistakes were going to be made. But to have this many glaring issues with the mechanics of the game baffles me. I don't know how they could have tested this and been like, you know what, that's good. You know, this is good. I just don't understand. If you can pull me out of your world and everything I love about the world in your game by the mechanics of the game, which should just feel like second nature. Mechanics of the game shouldn't even be noticeable. They should just feel like an extension of your regular motor skills. Like, it just should be like me giving a thumbs up. That's how the mechanics should feel. When the mechanics are that off and pull me out of the story and out of the game, there's a problem. And I hope they fix it if they do another title. And I hope that these mechanics don't make a return in some other game. Devastation is not a bad game by any means. Even with these problems, it is playable and you can have fun with it. But knowing that this is a part of this game and that that's something you're going to always deal with, no matter what, seriously makes me uninterested in playing through it again. Whereas I have played through War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron 4 or 5 times a piece, and I keep coming back for more. Devastation, honestly don't think I'd play through it a second time just because of how frustrating it has been the first time through, and that's not good.
It's 2 days after I filmed my thoughts on the Transformers Devastation video game. In my video, I disclosed that I had rage quit in the battle with Megatron, and today I went back and finally beat it. It didn't take nearly as long as I anticipated, and I was surprised that there was a second part of the battle, but I ended up beating that very quickly as well. So I felt that for the record I needed to go back and validate my opinions now, having beaten the game and having, no aggressive feelings toward it now because I won. I beat it. It's over. I still stand by my observations about the mechanics with the dodge and the combat. It feels too fast-paced. The chain attacks are too much, and it all feels like a cop-out because you can do the dodge and slow down, and the designers use that to make the game more difficult than it needed to be just for the sake of making it difficult. That's not what makes a game fun. At the end, they teased that they could make another game, and I really hope they do. I really hope they make another game in the same style, and they used the Combiner Wars Optimus Prime. They showed a schematic of Optimus Maximus, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I hope they do that, but I really hope they take into consideration some of the observations that the mechanics of the combat need to be tweaked, and I think the dodge and all that the slow-mo aspect of dodging needs to be taken out, definitely. It just makes no sense to me. You can dodge, like in Fall of Cybertron, and have it be effective without slowing combat down. So I think overall, my observations, even though I was angry at the game, are correct. I don't feel any different about the game, having beaten it, other than I'm not angry at it anymore. But I do hope they make another game, and I do hope it's as good as this one, and I really sincerely hope that it's better than this one, because this wasn't a bad game, it just has its flaws mechanically with how you play, which can be fixed. That's easy, you can fix those things. Fall of Cybertron did it. So, those are my thoughts, still validated. I still feel like those were my honest opinions, even though I was upset with the game. But yeah, Devastation, I've beaten it. Those are my thoughts. Thanks, guys.